Welcome to the San Gorgonio Chapter Trail Talk series. My name is John St. Clair, and I am your Zoom host. And tonight I am also the speaker. So a little later on, I'll have Julianne introduce me. But first, I want to go over the ground rules. Everybody needs to be muted. And if you have a question during the talk, write your question in the chat section. There's a little icon, looks like a talking bubble from cartoons. Click on that and send your chat to everyone. That's the default. And that way you won't forget what your question was. And we will make sure before the evening's over, all of your questions will be answered. Um, this is the beginning of hiking season, and at the lower altitudes, we finally got some snow up at the higher altitudes, but there's still lots of hiking going on. So if you're interested in hiking, check out the outings and events section of the chapter website. And there are a number of outings leaders leading wonderful hikes, both during the weekdays and on weekends. And also, you should have received a reminder email from me this afternoon, reminding you that you had registered for this event. And in that email is a link to the San Gorgonio Chapter YouTube channel. And we are recording this, and we record all Trail Talk presentations, and they're all put up on the San Gorgonio Chapter YouTube channel. And I will get that done probably tonight. If not, tomorrow morning it'll be up. And that way, if you have to leave before it's over, you can go back and watch the rest. Or if you thought it was a really good program, you want a friend to watch, you can send them the link and then they can watch it too. So, one other thing I do want to mention. April 12th, we're having a leadership training course. And we're always looking for new people to be outings leaders. And if you like to hike and you think you might want to become a Sierra Club outings leader, it is an event listed in the events and outings section. And you can register there and start the process and hopefully become an outings leader. So we're trying to grow our outings program, get more people outside and exploring and enjoying the outdoors. So with that, I think I will put the spotlight on Julianne and she can introduce the speaker.
Thank you, John. Always such a lovely job. Good evening, everyone. I'm Julianne Anderson. I'm co-chair of the Outings program, hot off the freeway from downtown Los Angeles. It was a close one tonight. Um, Before we begin and introduce our speaker, John, about his wonderful experience in the Grand Canyon, I do want to mention a couple of other things as well. Trail Talk next month will be featuring our chapter chair, Marianne Reese, and she's going to be speaking about Mono Lake and current events there with the city of Los Angeles, my employer. But what's going on with the water levels? And then she's also a very intrepid birder and goes to the Bird Chautauqua every year. So she can tell you about that. Fascinating. I adore the Eastern Sierra and the Mono Basin, which is the westerly portion of the Great Basin, is just an integral part of the Eastern Sierra confluence of the Mojave Desert and the Great Basin and the montane forests that all meet there at the Eastern Sierra. So wonderful, wonderful talk next month, third Wednesday of the month in March. Thursday or April will be another wonderful trail talk by our own outings leader, Norman Bossum. And Norm is with us tonight. He is our resident expert in, wait for it, rattlesnakes. Rattlesnake season is forthcoming and is important for us to have a heightened understanding of these very fascinating, intricate reptiles, dangerous, but fascinating and such an important alpha predator in the ecosystem. And Norm will be discussing reptiles in his neck of the woods, the high desert, as well as others in Southern California. And then in May, we will have a friend of the chapter, Stacy Goss, our own Joan Taylor, our intrepid conservationist, introduced us, and Stacy is going to be talking about hiking and exploring the Inyo and Mono County area. Not only the Eastern Sierra, but the Inyos and areas thereabouts. So we will be just delighted to have Stacy Goss talk to us, and I believe Stacy's with us tonight, about the Inyo Mono area, which is just such a beautiful part of California. Coming back to the program at hand, I do want to introduce John to all of you. You may not know that John is a retired teacher of many years, a primary teacher, also an intrepid member of the Indian Valley Storytellers, and has been for many years, and is a very adept storyteller. For those of you lucky enough to hike with John, sometimes he'll give us the gift of at the lunch break at the midway point of the hike, telling a story, and it's usually some folk tale from Japan or Europe or some other part of the world, and usually fascinating. So John is just a treat and a pleasure in that regard. With the Sierra Club, he has been an outings leader for many years and is one of our very best hike leaders in terms of being able to take on challenging hikes. I remember a camping trip last year we were all on. I had the pleasure of taking people kind of on a tour of the Eastern Sierra. John and his crew of hardcore hikers, they were going up to 11,000 feet, man. So they did the Mono Pass. So John's just intrepid. He is an outings leader and chair of the outings program with the Los Serranos group. He is, of course, on the Trail Talk committee, and he's the host of Trail Talk, and he is chair of our leadership training course committee, the LTC committee, which he talked about briefly. Our LTC is coming up on April 12th and May 3rd and 4th. So I strongly encourage you to come and work with us. There'll be a faculty of about a dozen of us outings leaders that will be doing the first part at the San Bernardino Museum, San Bernardino County Museum, a beautiful facility, on April 12th for the basic training. And then for those that want to do more backcountry hikes, there will be wilderness first aid, CPR for free on May 3rd up at our Keller Ski Hut in Running Springs. And then more in-depth navigation training, a navigation exercise, and scenarios out in the field. So a field exercise on May 4th, also at Keller. So do sign up for that and contact John. So with that, we are about to embark on a trip down into the Grand Canyon, cue the Ferdy Grofet, Grand Canyon Suite, and going down to the Phantom Ranch with John. So John, take it away.
Thank you, Julianne. And so I'm going to share my screen now and start the slideshow. So Phantom Ranch is in the Grand Canyon, and it's at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. And I'm going to be talking about mostly a hike I did with a group of friends in 2019 and my hiking experience, and give you some background about Phantom Ranch. This shows a picture of two cabins. Phantom Ranch is very difficult to get into, and I'll explain that. But it's glamping. You're not camping outside. You have a bed to sleep in with plumbing, and the bottom picture shows the dining hall. They feed you breakfast and dinner They will also pack you a lunch if you want, and the food is very good. So, a little background. Um, so, in 1903, after Francois Matthes completed his pioneer survey work of the Grand Canyon for the U.S. Geological Survey, Edwin Woolley and other investors formed the Grand Canyon Transportation Company, hoping to develop the tourist potential. Woolley hired his son-in-law, David Russ, to improve an ancient Native American route that Matthes had used to travel down the Bright Angel Creek to the Colorado River. His crew completed the trail work and added a small tent alongside the creek at the bottom. Theodore Roosevelt, who as president had declared Grand Canyon a national monument in 1908, traveled to the camp during a hunting expedition in 1913. In honor of this visit, the site became known as Roosevelt Camp. Roosevelt's enthusiasm for Grand Canyon helped lead to its incorporation to the national park system, and American architect Mary Coulter was hired to design a permanent lodging for the site. Construction presented a major challenge as all the building materials except rock had to be hauled down by mules. Coulter's solution was to create buildings from on-site rock and rough-hewn wood in an architectural style that would come to be known as National Park Service Rustic. Officials had intended to call the new lodge Roosevelt Chalet, but Coulter insisted on the more evocative Phantom Ranch, taking the name from a nearby Phantom Creek and Phantom Canyon. When the ranch opened on November 9th, 1922, it consisted of a central cooking and dining hall surrounded by 3 guest cabins, a caretaker's cabin. Other structures not designed by Coulter included a barn, a chicken house, rabbit run, blacksmith shop, and water reservoir. It later was expanded, and I won't go through the whole expansion process, but that gives you an idea of how it started. So, right now, Phantom Ranch is closed. So, the National Park Service is providing an important update regarding canyon trail closures to report the construction project to build a new water line. In addition to previously announced closures, please note the Phantom Ranch will be closed from January 2nd to, this thing's hiding. I'm going to move this. To March 30th, 2025, as the construction contractor, Stronghold Engineering, will be performing extensive excavation work in this area. So, the current Inner Canyon closure dates are Bright Angel Trail north of Havasupai Gardens and the Silver Bridge is closed through May 14th. And actually, it may go beyond because, as sometimes happen with construction projects, they don't finish on time. But it'll be at least May 14th. Bright Angel Campground is closed also to at least May 14th. Plateau Point Trail from the Tonto Trail Junction north of Havasupai Gardens to Plateau Point is also closed until May 14th. These closures are necessary for safety of staff and visitors during the construction efforts. The upper portion of Bright Angel Trail from the South Rim to Havasupai Gardens and the Tonto Trail will remain open. The South Kaibab Trail will also be open for all hikers. No hikers or trail users will be allowed to pass through the closure areas under any circumstances. And if you want to find out updates, you go to the National Park Service website that covers Grand Canyon National Park. Okay. Now, Phantom Ranch utilizes a lottery system. And oh shoot, I currently can't read it. So please note the dormitories are currently closed and they don't know when they're going to reopen. So there's 2 different kinds of lodgings. There's the dormitories, which sleep 10 people. There's 5 bunk beds, and there's a bathroom with a shower and sink. And then there's cabins, which are for a smaller number of people, usually 2. The lottery entries are made between the 1st and 25th of the 15th month prior to the desired stay month. Lottery submissions will be processed, lottery winners notified, and reservations guaranteed within the 14th month prior to arrival. Any unsold, unclaimed inventory will be released to general availability for reservations following the current 13-month reservation window. In other words, you got to plan this way in advance. And here's another picture of the dining hall. Okay, so overnight accommodations. There, as I said, there's the dormitories, but they're currently unavailable. Um, there are 2 male dorms and 2 female dorms, and they each can hold 10 people, so that's 40 people altogether. Each dorm has 5 bunk beds, a shower, and a shared restroom. Bedding and towels are provided for each guest occupying a dorm bed. Children must be at least 6 years old to stay in a dormitory. Cabins. These accommodations vary in size and accommodate from 2 to 10 guests. Cabins are equipped with bedding, cold water sink, toilet, liquid soap, and hand towels. Showers, bath towels, hot sinks, and liquid soap shampoo are provided at a central location, not in the cabin. Pricing for the cabins is based on double occupancy. Additional guests may stay with an additional charge. So here's the cost. Cabin, 2 people, $217.70. Additional person, $21.50. Dorm, per person, $70. So what I did, I went with a group of 8 people, and so it was actually, per person kind of cheaper than the cabin, I think. Breakfast per person, $30.98. Sack lunch per person, $25.65. I chose to bring my own lunch stuff, basically protein bars and apples that I carried in my backpack, because I thought $25.65 was kind of expensive for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and an apple and a drink. But a lot of people in our group paid for the sack lunch. Steak dinner per person, $61.15. Stew dinner, $43.63. Veggie dinner, $41.01. Duffel service. I think everybody in our group used that. So what that is the mules will take your duffel down. That has your extra clothing, and if you're taking lunch stuff, the lunch stuff can go in the duffel. All you keep is what you need for hiking down. I chose not to do the duffel service. Again, I thought $85.50 was kind of expensive. And so the way my reasoning was, we went in November, and the temperature on the south rim of the Grand Canyon in November is very cold in the morning. So in the morning, I was wearing a lot of clothes. I mean, my jackets and stuff. And then as we hiked down, the day warmed up, and also the lower elevation made the temperature rise, and I started stripping off my clothes and putting them in my backpack. I didn't want those warm clothes to be in the duffel because I needed them at the start of the hike. So anyway, I think I may have been the only person not to use the duffel service. I had a fairly good sized backpack and it wasn't a problem. Drag in, drag out, currently unavailable. I think that's if you ride the mule down and back, $953. So that's kind of expensive. Okay, so I actually have gone to the Grand Canyon twice. And the first time was October 23rd, 2016. And we hiked just a short ways down the South Kaibab Trail. And this is a picture of me with a friend of mine. And I want to tell you, this is kind of a pretty photo, but it's nothing compared to being there. If you haven't been to the Grand Canyon, it really takes your breath away. It's what this photo does for me. It reminds me of how it felt when I was actually there, because it doesn't do it justice. And then here's another one taken on the South Kaibab Trail on October 23rd, 2016. And it was in the afternoon. Okay, so that was in 2016. In 2019, in November, we did another trip, and this was the one where we had the reservations down at Phantom Ranch. And Julianne, can you see the words?
Let me see.
Because I
Grand Canyon South Rim above Bright Angel Trail.
Do you see the date?
No,
Yeah, see, it's being covered. Let's see. I don't have a
I
mouse. I don't have.
did not see the date. No,
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Okay, so I forgot to move everything down.
that's
So
okay.
um, this is early in the morning. No, actually, this is the day before our hike down. We're at the top of the Bright Angel Trail. This is near to sunset. Beautiful sky, uh, and the colors at sunset are really pretty. And this is taken at the same spot, just turning a little bit. And you can see it's the Bright Angel Trail because if you look at the right-hand side about in the middle, you see a skinny line going across a plateau. That is the plateau point, and it goes out to the edge, and you look straight down at the Colorado River. And before that, you can see an area that has a lot of trees where the trail is, and that's the Havasupai Gardens. Used to be called Indian Garden when we went, but they've changed the name in 2022. They changed it to Havasupai Gardens. And here again, sunset shot this November 18th, 2019. And one more. Oh, I guess another one. Okay, next day, morning. We start out on our hike down the South Kaibab Trail. So we went down the South Kaibab Trail and we came back up on the Bright Angel Trail, both from the South Rim. And you can see the trail down below. And the colors are just spectacular. They're just spectacular. Okay, and here I moved the stuff off to the side so we'll be able to read it. So it's 7:32 a.m. I used the date stamps on the photos so I could tell if I was standing in the same place taking a picture and just turning my body. Um, yeah, this one's back there. So we're going down, and you can see that there are some clouds in the sky. And as we went down, it got more and more cloudy on the way down. There's one of the hikers in front of me. I think I was at the back. I was taking loads of photos, which slowed me down. Trail's in good shape. Never felt like it was dangerous at all. Um, it's now 7:31, so I've taken a lot of pictures and haven't traveled very far yet. It's still early in the morning. And that one of the neat things about the Grand Canyon is the lighting really makes a difference in how it looks. Morning versus night, sunshine versus cloudy, where some parts of it are lit up and some parts are in the shadow of the cloud. It affects how the rocks look, and it's just so gorgeous. Like this, you can see the one place that's in the bright sunshine. And if you look straight down, you can see the hikers ahead of me. There's the trail. We're doing switchbacks at this point. Fairly steep. Now it's 8:17 a.m. So we went down, well, at least the people in front of me went down at a pretty good clip. I was stopping to take so many photos that took me a little bit longer. This was a place where we could go off the trail a little bit, kind of to an edge of the rock to take a nice picture. And this is the first time we could see the Colorado River down below. Now I've caught up to them. Not too far behind now. And it's getting a little bit more cloudy. And you can see, even though we're going down, and it's, normally it gets warmer as you go down because we weren't in direct sunlight. Uh, Everybody's wearing long sleeves and long pants. There's no shorts and short sleeves. And after all, it is November, kind of late November. So it's 10 a.m. and we see a bunch of people coming up on the mules. So in this case, it's not just carrying stuff, they're carrying people. So these people paid that, what was it, 950 something dollars to ride down and back up. And we had to sort of get off the trail because the trail is not very, very wide at this point. We had to get off the trail, let the mules go by. 10:19 now. Kind of opens up. And the clouds are getting darker. Here I'm taking a picture of someone else in our group taking a picture of the group. And it's now 11 a.m. Looking across the way to the trail ahead of us. And if you look at the time, 11:04:13, 11:04:10, 3 seconds apart, I just turned a little. So it's the same spot. I took it this way, and then I turned to the right and got this. That's why I like putting the timestamp. It lets me know if I've actually traveled or if I'm just standing still and turning. And now we can see the Colorado River again, and it's starting to get closer. And you can see how they kind of made steps going down. I went to the edge and took this photo. And again, the difference, the front rocks there are all lit up, and in the back, they're all in the shade of the dark clouds. And looking ahead, you can see the clouds are getting darker. And there's another mule uh, train coming up. And now we can see the bridge that we have to cross. So that's the South Kaibab Bridge. And it's also called the Black Bridge, I believe. The other one, the Bright Angel Bridge, is called the Silver Bridge, I think. It's now 11:25. We can see the river ahead, 11:38, 11:39, 11:40. Someone took a picture of me at 11:50 with the Colorado River in sight behind me on to the one side. And here we have to go through a tunnel to get to the bridge. And that's the rest of the group ahead of me. I had someone take my picture here before I go into the tunnel. Come out on the other side of the tunnel and you're on the bridge. And it's a suspension bridge. It was pretty sturdy. And now I'm standing on the bridge, on the South Kaibab Trail Bridge, And I'm looking at the Colorado River, looking downstream towards the Bright Angel Trail Bridge. Okay. You can't see. Let's see. Can I see the bridge? Uh, I think I can in the distance there. I can see the bridge, but it's hard to make out. Here's a map showing the two bridges. So the Bright Angel Bridge is kind of in the middle, and more to the right is the South Kaibab Bridge. And after we cross the river, then there's a trail that takes us to Phantom Ranch because it's on the other side of the river. And here I'm looking upstream now. And the water is not uh, running swiftly here. It's kind of flat at this particular place. Um, let's go back. Here, looking downstream, it starts to get, it starts sloping down more, so the water's moving more quickly. Okay, so next day. Oh, by the way, if you remember, where are we, the last clouds, the clouds are getting dark. What happened was we got down there and we crossed the bridge. We took the trail to Phantom Ranch. And just as we got to where we were checking in, it started sprinkling. By the time we got into the dorm where the bunk beds were, it was pouring down rain. We got there just in time. We were really, really lucky because that was cutting it a little bit tight. And so that was at 12:25. So we started at like 7:30 or 7:20. So it took us 5 hours to go down. And so we checked in. It was raining. It kind of rained on and off the rest of the afternoon, and we ate dinner. And there was no night sky to watch because it was all cloudy and sprinkling and raining. So the next morning we get up, and by gosh, it's still inclement weather. So notice everybody is wearing a poncho or something. Their backpacks are covered because the whole day that we hiked down on the bottom of the canyon, the whole day was inclement weather with light rain, not heavy rain, but light rain on and off all day long. So we never really could take off our rain gear because you didn't know when it was going to start again. And now we're on the North Kaibab Trail in Bright Angel Canyon. And this trail will take you up to the North Rim. We did not go that far, nowhere near. So there were several bridges we had to cross. This was one of the bridges. And I believe the stream there is probably the Bright Angel stream. Not sure about that, but I think. So this is what it's like down on the canyon floor. We're not next to the Colorado River. It's too narrow to hike right next to the Colorado River. So we're in a different part of the canyon. And we started out, let's see, 8:35. So we ate breakfast in the dining hall and then got our stuff together and took off and spent most of the day hiking. We're still on the North Kaibab Trail in Bright Angel Canyon. Another bridge to cross. Everybody still got their ponchos on. There's the stream. That stream feeds into the Colorado River. And the date, November 20th. So, we're well into late autumn, just a month before the first day of winter. (9:54). And here we got some brightly colored vegetation and another bridge to cross. And we came to a junction. Cottonwood to the right Ribbon Falls via the bridge to the right, via the creek to the left. And then, attention, Ribbon Falls Bridge is closed due to significant structural damage. Ribbon Falls is a really nice destination. And if it had not been raining, we might have gone to it via the creek if the creek, didn't have much water in it. But since it had been raining all night, we decided not to try to walk upstream in the creek. So we went towards the bridge instead to see what it looked like. That's what it looked like. It was not passable. There's the close-up. See how it's kind of twisted? Nobody was going on that. So we did not get to see Ribbon Falls, which was somewhat of a disappointment. And now it's 10:57 a.m. We come back here. At some point, we ate lunch. It's now we ate lunch about 12 and or 11:30 or 12 at 1. I didn't take any pictures of where we ate lunch, but I think at this point it had stopped raining for a while, which was nice. You see the people there don't have their ponchos on, but we had to go back across that bridge that had the brightly colored foliage and back towards Phantom Ranch. It's still cloudy, but you can see a little bit of sky. I don't think, at this point, I think it had stopped raining. Okay, next day, November 21st, 8 a.m. We cross over the Bright Angel Bridge, which I think is called the Silver Bridge. And that takes you to the Bright Angel Trail. So we're crossing back over the Colorado River. And you can see right here, you see a little bit of white water. It's got some downslope to it, so the water is moving swiftly. We're looking downstream. And we're looking upstream. The whole area here the water was not as calm as it was by the other bridge, the South Kaibab Bridge. So we get across the bridge and we see this sign. There's a sign to go back over the Colorado towards Bright Angel Camp, which is a big campground. So people who backpack can come down here. You don't have to stay at Phantom Ranch. You can be a backpacker and camp at the Bright Angel Camp, although in raining weather, I'm sure we were much more comfortable than the people in their tents. I would much rather be in a nice warm cabin in a bed than sleeping in a tent when it's raining in late November. So then it shows the Bright Angel Trail. That's the way we went to go up a little ways. I turned around and took a picture of the Colorado River. So this is a different way to go back. And there is a stream that goes along the trail for a good portion. Oh, and so let's see, does this say this is 9:51, 10:42. So I left the Bright Angel Trail at Havasupai Gardens and took a trail to Plateau Point. I saw this beautiful cactus on the way. And here I am at Plateau Point. I had someone take a picture of me. You can see it is cloudy out. At this point, it wasn't raining. It was a little bit drizzly, I think, when we started, but it really hadn't rained much. I think we were aware that it could rain at any time. And so the rest of the group did not go with me to Plateau Point because it was about a mile, 3/4 of a mile or a mile hike out to this point, and then a mile or 3/4 of a mile back. So everybody else, they just kept going. But I wanted to see this. I had been there before and seen it back in 2016. and I knew it was beautiful, and I wanted to see it again. This is what it looks like. Now, this is leaning, standing at that railing, sort of leaning over and pointing the camera down. This is what you see. Now, notice the date. Because I was in a hurry in 2019, I didn't stop to take a bunch of pictures. So I didn't have any of me leaning over the railing and taking a picture of the river down below. But I did do that in 2016. And so I went searching on my old computer and I found this picture because it was quite spectacular. Then coming back, the hike out to Plateau Point is really, really pretty with these cactus. Now it's 12:35 looking back down at Havasupai Gardens. So where is that? Well, um, you look down and you see some trees. I zoomed in. There's the trees. You can barely see it here. You can kind of see the yellow green in the middle of the screen, but when I zoom in, you can see it better. That's the Havasupai Gardens. And here you can see that trail that goes out to Plateau Point. You can see it better zoomed in than you could in the other one. Well, I'm about an hour and 20 minutes from the top, and guess what? It's colder at the at the top, and it's not drizzling; it's snowing. And uh, at this point, it had already snowed. And I'm walking up. It wasn't snowing right at this moment, but as I got further up, it started snowing. I don't know if you can see it, but you see the little white flakes coming down. It's 1:49. Definitely you can see the snow coming down here. It's now 1:54. It was actively snowing at this point, which was okay, actually. It was beautiful. And I got back to the parking lot at 2:24, and here's my car. It was covered with snow. So we went 8 miles in 6.5 hours. Or I took 6.5 hours. Everybody else was already up there because they did not go out to the Plateau Point for the view. So I was the last one to get back, and I was amazed to see how much snow was on my car. It was pretty well covered. So 2:25, time to get out of the cold, take a shower, and put on warm, dry clothes. And that's the end of my slideshow. So at this point, Julianne, are there any questions?
Yes, there are. Couple of comments. One was about Mary Coulter, the architect. Um, Comments inviting people to Google Mary Coulter. Fascinating. She designed a lot of the buildings on the South Rim of the Grand Canyon, including the Hopi House, and she also, in addition to Phantom Ranch. Um, And she apparently named it Phantom Ranch because it was more of a fascinating name than Roosevelt Camp. So she wanted to kind of have an air of mystery about it. Also designed many buildings associated with the railroads of the era. Also, the large restaurant, if you go into Union Station in LA, the large restaurant space at Union Station, which is now quite a nice bar and grill, uh, it was designed by Mary Coulter. Huge, back in the day of the huge railroad restaurants. So she was quite significant in that turn of the century railroad to the national parks through the West era. Lots of buildings in Arizona, New Mexico, California. Um, Also, comment about if you're going to the Grand Canyon independently, check the NPS website about closures. Uh, the Yosemite National Park website notes all of the campgrounds there are closed and not accepting reservations because of the Trump administration personnel cuts. They're not hiring seasonal personnel. So we were hoping to have a car camp in the South Rim in the Grand Canyon in September at the Mather campground, and we'll see if that's going to be possible. Um, John, question, how difficult was the hike down? Would you rate it as easy, moderate, or strenuous?
It was pretty easy. It was much harder going up.
Yeah, how would you rate them both ways? Easy
Oh,
and
well, the
moderate?
the the hike up 8 miles, it was strenuous, very strenuous. But
Yeah.
the hike down wasn't bad at all. It wasn't too steep. Um, and we were not in any hurry, although we did know there was forecast for rain, so we didn't dilly-dally. I probably took more photos than anybody did.
Okay.
But no, it was all right going down. I mean, your my quads were sore, when you're going downhill, the quads get the work braking, but it wasn't too awfully steep, and the trail was in good shape, but coming up was hard work for sure.
Yeah. Amazing that you made it in 6 hours. That's a steep climb
Yeah.
to do it in 6 hours. Um, where did you stay on the South Rim when you came back?
Oh, I don't remember the name of the place, and I didn't take any pictures, so I have no idea where we stayed. Right close to the Bright Angel trailhead. We were very
Got it.
close. So it was right there on the South Rim.
Nice. Very nice. Like right around El Tovar and in the lodge and all that. Very
Yeah,
nice.
so we just, we got up in the morning and we walked to the trailhead. We didn't have to take a bus or anything. We walked. And so
Nice.
when we got back, we walked back to the lodge.
Hmm. How was the temperature? Would you recommend going in November again?
Yeah, actually, because the canyon floor can be very, very stifling hot in the summer. And that can even extend into October sometimes. But there's a big difference between the rim and the floor because of
Right,
the elevation difference.
right, right. Did you see any wildlife?
Not much. No.
Hmm. Okay, interesting. So maybe November is kind of a transition period where
Yeah.
they're migrating. Um, and how was the vegetation? We saw some fall color. Was there much willow or other fall color at the time?
Well, the Havasupai Gardens has lots and lots of foliage, and it's really a pretty place. And I didn't take any photos there because I was in a hurry. I could see those dark clouds, and and I was behind everybody else, and I was high-footing it out of there, so I didn't take any pictures at that point.
Right, right. It's a
But
chance of
that's the
surprise.
main place. I mean, the rest of it is all rock.
Yeah, yeah. How would you rate the accommodations? They looked like they were beautiful, 100-year-old craftsman style buildings. How would you rate the for the money, how would you rate it?
It was
Was it
good.
worth it to you?
It was good. It was expensive. It was
Yeah.
expensive, and but the food was good. The beds were decent. I didn't want to sleep on the bottom bunk because the head clearance was not very great. There was more head clearance above the top bunk to the ceiling than there was from the bottom bunk to the bottom of the sec top bunk, if you know what I mean. If you sat up quickly, you might hit your head.
Yeah. New question. How long was the trip as far as mileage?
That's a good question. Um, Darn it, I should have written that down. Um, See, it took it was in that slide. It was 8 miles, right?
Right.
I
Yeah.
think the Bright Angel Trail was 8 miles
Right.
in 6.5 hours. Yeah.
And in terms to follow up on that, in terms of your trip, when did you leave the inland? When did you leave Ontario?
So we got there on the 18th and we drove straight from home to it was a long drive to
Yeah. About
get
a
there.
9 hour drive, would you say 8 hour?
Yeah, I would say 9 to 10 hours, and we left early.
Okay.
So we drove all day, and we got there just barely in time to get those sunset pictures that I showed you at the beginning of the slide,
Nice.
because we just didn't have time. We spent the whole day in the car getting there.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful drive though, I'm sure. What a nice time of year.
And the other time in 2016 when we went and didn't go all the way down, didn't have reservations to stay at Phantom Ranch, we
Mhm.
were staying in Sedona and
Yeah.
spent a couple nights in Sedona and drove from Sedona to Grand Canyon 2 different days.
I've stayed in Sedona in Oak Creek Canyon, which was absolutely lovely and not quite as crowded as Sedona. And then I've stayed in Flagstaff and visited the national park.
That's even closer.
Um, Lovely. Love Flagstaff, great town. Um, and we just had a wonderful time.
Have you
Um,
ever been to the Northern Arizona Museum of Natural History in Flagstaff?
yes.
It's a great
Yeah.
museum.
Loved it. I think I have a cap from there and a shirt, but
Yeah.
oh my goodness,
It's a
the it's just a great all-around museum, everybody. Museum of Northern Arizona. Um, Native American exhibits and explainers, a lot of natural history of the area. Um, definitely worth it. It's right there in Flagstaff. Um, so well worth the time for a visit to kind of orient. Where did you get your basic orientation at the South Rim? Did you go to the visitor center and take in any of the geology or how did you just kind of plunge in and take the hike?
We just sort of plunged in and took the
Got it.
hike.
Got
Yeah.
it.
The one
Got it.
person in our group, the person who planned it, had been before with another group, so
Yeah.
she kind of led the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if we go, I'm hoping to have maybe 3 to 4 nights at the Mather at the the big general campground, and nice to go after Labor Day, a little less crowded. How crowded was the park when you were there?
Not too bad. Not
Okay,
really
good,
not bad at all.
good. And was the trail crowded?
It was more crowded in 2016 when we were there in October than it was in 2019 when we were there in November.
Interesting.
Much more crowded in October.
How was the weather in October? Because I'm thinking the trouble with September, October is you get kind of that monsoon.
We
Um,
we lucked out. We didn't have any problem at all. And of course, in November it was inclement weather. We had rain
yeah,
every day.
yeah. So it was starting to really rain.
Yeah.
Huh.
Or
Well,
no.
let's see. I think that's it for the questions, John, but what a beautiful presentation. Any other questions, everybody? Feel free to ask. We will be, I will post on the outings and events once we are able to reserve. It's on a 6 month availability, so the reservations for September aren't quite available yet. But
Uh-huh.
I am noticing some of the parks, like Sequoia and Kings Canyon, they are taking reservations despite this budget chaos. Yosemite is not.
Mhm.
So we've got to be alert and aware about our reservations this year, and that goes for us as a group and for you as individuals if you're taking trips. So just be really alert and check out the NPS websites because
Yeah.
they have been laying off people in the Park Service.
Yep.
But that being said, we'll see where we can go, and if we cannot go to the Park Service this summer, we'll go to the Forest Service camps here and there, both in the Western Sierra and the Eastern Sierra. In terms of Grand Canyon, I'm not sure where the Forest Service camps are in the area, but we can scope that out.
Yeah. And they're laying off Forest Service people too.
Yeah, yeah. Chris, I see you got a message here. Let's see. Ah, Chris was there on her first and only trip at Mather Campground in October 2021. Lovely weather. Um, Busy with the rutting elk. I love that, Chris. Um, Dropped your son and daughter-in-law off at 4:30 a.m. at the South Kaibab Trailhead and 12 12 hours later, they finally appeared at the top of Bright Angel. So they went down and up. Wow.
That's
Wow,
a tough
Chris.
hike. That's a really tough hike.
Dang. Well, you guys are hardy. That really is a tough hike in a day. My
That's got
goodness.
to be at least 16 miles round trip, going down and back up.
Tell us again about the lottery for the Phantom Ranch. What's the best technique to kind of win the lottery and get yourself a spot? Did you have several people like trying at the same time?
Yeah. Yeah, and one person got through.
Yeah. Well,
And
that's smart.
that whole process with the layoffs and everything, I think is going to be kind of chaotic now.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see how this all works out. But we will be hiking regardless, and we will be camping regardless, somewhere. So even if it's the Riverside County Campground in Idlewild, we will find a place to camp, damn it.
That's a good
So
campground. That's where I started camping with my family.
I love that campground.
Yeah,
Man, we took a bunch of youth there, and boy, they were delighted because they were flush toilets. They
right.
loved it.
Yeah.
But it's a lovely oak woodland, very, very nice. And we had good times there. So, all right, everybody. I think that's it for the questions
I
and the
think I may
comments.
stop the recording.